Hey everybody, how's it going? All right, just another kind of quick vlog video here. I'm just gonna jabber on about a few things in the room here. A couple of things going on. Here, let's take a quick look at one improvement. Now this isn't audio related, and depending on the glare, you might not be able to see, but hey, I got some cool shutters in the room here. So, these windows were just open, and anytime it was daylight in here, it was just impossible to control the light enough to record videos. So this is actually kind of cool. It pretty much blacks it out, whether it's day or night or whatever. Kind of excited about that. My other kind of cool thing here, you got to see this clock. I love this thing. My wife found this thing on Etsy. A guy in the Netherlands makes these things. Bourbon designs, but it's just a repurposed snare drum, like a 14 by 5 snare drum made into a clock. I was afraid of like having an analog clock in here because of the ticking and everything, but it doesn't tick. You can kind of watch the second hand move there. It's just this smooth motion second hand that's, I don't know, really cool. I think it looks great and, fits that spot so well. All right, other than that, we kind of take a look around here and, you see I got the drum set back up and you just kind of see just this cable. Whoops, boy, I almost fell over there. You see just this giant cable mess everywhere you look. Hey, I think that's a good sign. It may look messy, but it just means, hey, it's a room in use, right? A studio in use, Is it anything other than messy? Here, come with me here. And let's kind of see what all's going on here. So yeah, I've been recording drums, still, I consider it practicing recording drums because I'm just not that great at it yet. But man, I'm getting such better results than I ever have before. I got that extra MD421. Someday I will have a third one, but for right now, I think the Audix i5 actually works pretty good. I've got the SM57 on snare. I had to repurpose my kick mic stand because I had to record some guitars, so it's sitting over there with a couple of mics on it. But normally I got the Audix D6, inside the kick, and I'm happy with that, but it's always been a little lacking. So lately I've been playing with, I got this guy covered up. I've been playing with like an outside kick mic because in that Native Instruments KA2 demo video, I used MD421 as my only kick mic outside, and like I loved the kick tone I was getting. So I've been playing with blending a outside mic. I don't really have a mic that's well suited to this purpose, so I'm using the Avantone CV12. It's a tube condenser mic, and right now I've got it in figure 8, and I like it. I still don't think it's the ideal mic for the situation, but man, what it adds to a kick tone, from this small kick drum in a small room, I really like it. What else? I've been, still using the SM81s as overheads, and I really like those things. Man, these things are just a great kind of go-to mic for me, and they might actually be kind of a desert island mic. Maybe it's just my lack of exposure to other better mics, but man, those SM81s, I love them on acoustic guitar, I love them on overheads. You can talk into them as, use them as boom mics, and yeah, they're just a great versatile mic. And yeah, I've had to pilfer a couple of mics off my kit over here. That's because I had to borrow that MD421 that was on the low tom and use it for bass guitar over here. I've been playing with, since I got these ribbon mics, these Cascade Fatheads, I've been playing with using them on guitar amps. And so far I've been really happy with it. I've always kind of had trouble miking this Marshall cabinet with an SM57 or an i7, and I have to say the combination of an SM57 and one of these Fatheads has been kind of a revelation. I think it's pretty darn good sounding. I mean, the two of them together team up to kind of capture everything that I like about what this amp sounds like. I tried the same thing. It was on a song that was in one of my videos, I don't know, one of my vlogs a while ago, but I'd actually mic'd that with one of the Fatheads too. Just dead center. A mic position I have always stayed away from because it's too harsh. But man, those ribbon mics right dead center on a guitar cabinet sound pretty darn good. So yeah, I've got the one Cascade Fathead here. The whole reason I bought them was actually to use them as room mics. So I got from Cascade, I got their stereo bar here, and a couple of their shock mounts. And my other one is here. I've got most of my mics covered because we're doing some renovations in the house and there's a lot of dust. And, you know, dust and microphones don't really get along all that well. So I would stick both of the cascades in this stereo adapter and put them in what's called a Blumline or Bloomline, I don't know. But it's basically a stereo configuration, almost kind of like an XY, except with figure 8 mics. And use them as room mics. And I have to say that, you know, even in a small room like this, I am really, really amazed at what a couple of room mics add to the kit. I'm so happy with the tones I'm getting lately. And like I said, I'm not there 100% or anything. I'm not making world-class drum tracks in this room or anything, but I am really surprised at how much kind of depth and kind of girth just a pair of room mics, even in a small room, add to a drum kit. Wow, so impressed, so impressed. So here's a fella that I don't think has ever made an appearance on my channel before. This is an FMR RNP, a really nice preamp. I've had this for several years, many years now, and I was never just in love with it, but it is a solid preamp, and since I'm using 10 channels to mic drums, you know, I've got kick in, kick out, snare, tom, 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 room, room, overhead, overhead, and I didn't want to unplug all that stuff when I was recording some guitars through 2 channels, so I grabbed this guy. I haven't even plugged it in maybe 4 years. And just kind of fell in love all over again with it. Now, that purchase, this preamp, was that was my kind of big wake up in a certain way. And that wake up was, I honestly bought it all those years ago, thinking that it was just going to be a revelation in sound quality. You know, I was using at the time a Yamaha MG 10.2 mixer for preamps into a Delta 44, and honestly I loved that setup. That it was cheap and very, very functional for a home studio. But I was, you know, listening to my mixes and I'm like, man, everything just sounds kind of dark and you know, everything just has this kind of haze over it. And at the time, rather than attributing that to my, you know, mixing skills or lack of mixing skills, I attributed it to, oh, it's my preamps. I'm using these cheap preamps in a $100 mixer. I'm gonna go, you know, spend almost $500 on an outboard preamp, and I'm gonna, you know, make pro sounding records. And I distinctly remember the first time I plugged it in, recorded a track through it, listened to it back, and I was like, that didn't sound any different than what I've been doing, you know? So it really was kind of a wake-up call of, oh, it's not necessarily the gear, it's just a preamp. You know, they're just preamps. It's not, so they do sound different, and anybody that watched the preamp shootout that I did last year, sometime, you know, can probably agree that, like, even like the the cheapest preamp that I have, which is probably the Midas preamps in the Behringer 8200, like, they're solid. And they don't sound very different than my nicest preamp, the BAE 1073. They do sound different, and honestly, I do admit that I think the BAE sounds better, but the difference is just so marginal. And so that FMR RNP, the really nice preamp, was kind of my lesson learned, you know, all those years ago. I'm sure that you've done the same thing, right? You know, you buy something expecting like, oh, this is gonna make it all sound amazing. And then you realize like, oh yeah, it's just a piece of gear. Like, amazing sounding mixes are such a complicated mixture and combination of factors. You know, one preamp isn't gonna make or break it for you. But I mentioned the FMR because, here, I just got you back on the stand. Let's go take a look here real quick at my rack here. And notice the lights are off on my VLA. I've been having some problems with my Art Pro VLA 2. Now, I've had this compressor for several years as well, and I've kind of fallen out of love with it. I think at its price range, It is unparalleled. In its price range, there's not much competing with it. $300 for 2 channels, and it's an opto compressor, so it's a little slow, you know, so it's not really, you know, it's no 1176 or anything, but you get, you know, the stereo link, which is great. So you can use it in dual mono, so you can have, you know, a bass guitar over here and a vocal over here, and they don't have anything to do with each other. It's great. Or you can link them together and you can use it for a bus. You know, mainly lately I've been using it like for a tom bus on a drum submix. But in this last week, I've been having troubles with channel 2 over here. For some reason, it's not working. Could be a bad cable back behind there. Maybe the tube in there is starting to go bad or something. I don't know. But, you know, since I have kind of fallen out of love with that thing, because honestly, I love it on vocals. I love it on bass guitar. But as a kind of a bus, you know, a 2-bus mixer or a 2-bus compressor, I just don't like it because there's no way to sidechain in a filter to kind of make it less responsive to low frequencies. So like on a drum bus, the kick drum just makes everything pump, and or like on a master bus, the bass and the kick just makes the whole mix pump. And you know, I could dial back the gain reduction, you know, to dial back the threshold, but I like some gain reduction, which is why I like those distressors so much. Actually, you can see the distressors here. Hey, see, I've got them on the nuke setting, and that's because I've been using them on these ribbon mics as room mics, and oh my goodness, it's just amazing. I love it. You know, I'll make one pass and use one on a kick and one on a snare. It really does a good job to fatten things up. Then I'll come back, you know, render those out, and then you know, just crush those room mics with them. And oh man, I have been having some problems. You can see I've got them on, you know, yeah, the nuke setting. I've got the high pass on the detector circuit and the link, the stereo link. I got the high pass in the audio path and some of the distortion on there. And so you can see these are just the EL8. These aren't the EL8S or the EL8, what is it, the X, I think, that also has the British mode. I don't really care about the British mode, but I'm starting to realize how important the stereo link is. But you can see on the top one, my input is at 8. On the bottom one, the input is dimed, you know, beyond 10. And they're just mismatched. You know, they're not very close together in serial numbers. They're not a match pair. I've been thinking about maybe sending them in back to Empirical Labs and get the stereo link mod done, and also basically have them like match them, you know, turn them into a matched pair, because I do use them on buses, you know, so the room mics, a stereo room mic, I do like them on a drum bus, but boy, they're aggressive. So I've been trying to think, like, what am I gonna do? I think I'm gonna fix up the Pro VLA2 and probably sell it, because yeah, I've just kind of fallen out of love with it over the years. I've only got, you know, these two you know, rack spaces here, and man, you look at something like a LA2A or an 1176, you know, these classic compressors, or a clone of those. I can't afford a real one. That's one channel of compression in a two spaces your rack. And I just don't have room for that. I mean, I've got all this rack space over here, but it's inconvenient to get to. I've got all this rack space over here, but again, it's inconvenient to get to. I like having stuff, you know, that I'm gonna tweak, you know, just right up here. Why not? So I started thinking, and you know, having pulled out the FMR RNP the other day, I got to thinking, yeah, that's right. FMR makes like several compressors. And so on its way is, I just bought one off of Amazon, like their RNC, which is the really nice compressor. You know, it's not a super fancy compressor. Honestly, I probably have plugins that'll, you know, do the same job, but I wanted one for a long time, and I figured, hey, why not? But the other thing I got as kind of a companion piece to the RNP is the RNLA, which is the really nice leveling amplifier. I found one of those used on Reverb for a good price, so I went ahead and ordered that thing too. So I've got a couple of extra compressors, so that's going to give me 2 sets of stereo compression that you can also use as mono. Like, neither of them do dual mono, which is where they both lose out. You know, they're both in the same price range as the Pro VLA. You know, they're very different compressors than the VLA. because they are VCA, what is that, voltage controlled amplifier compressors, while the Pro VLA is an opto compressor. I'm just kind of intrigued by them. I've never played with them. I listened to the audio samples on YouTube 100 times probably in the last 10 years. So I figured it's about time. So I got to hunting around, found a couple. I'm going to give them a try, see how I like them. And so that might give me actually, 4 channels or 2 mono or 2 stereo channels in less than 1 rack space. They're technically 1/3 rack space, so I might be able to fit like a third something or other there, but that'll leave an entire other rack space up here that I might be able to, I don't know, find something to do with, just for more channels of outboard compression. I love outboard compression. The software compressors do a great job. There's nothing wrong with them. Everybody's got their thing. I think my thing is outboard compression. I just love it. I don't know why. I can't explain why. I can't even define the difference to me, but maybe the difference is just totally in my head, but whatever. All right, I guess I'll keep this pretty short. So I'll stop jabbering here, but I just wanted to, I hadn't done one of these kind of vlog style videos for a while, and apparently I'm not very good at getting my camera back on its stand, but I just wanted to kind of give just a, quick, hey, what's up, kind of thing. But hey, in your home studio, what all's going on? What have you been doing lately? Any kind of new fun toys or any new fun, techniques or expertise you've gained or anything? And let us know down in the comments. We'll chat about it a little bit. All right. Hey, well, thank you very much. Oh yeah, by the way, just topped over 6,000 subscribers, which is just amazing to me. Some guy in his basement, blabbering on about home recording. So thank you all that are watching, that are liking, that are subscribing, that are commenting. Thank you all so much for participating. I really, really appreciate it. It's great, the kind of small little community we've got kind of, building and growing here. I really do appreciate it. So 6,000 subs, I'm just, well, I'm speechless. So thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. And I guess I'll see you guys again next time.